Okay, good morning. Good morning, everybody. I see that we already have some persons in the room. I hope you can all hear me well and see me as well. So just few words, welcome. And actually, I'm going to leave the floor to Purya Saleh to some welcoming words. So Purya, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Celine. I really appreciate that. And good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. And very warm welcome to today's capacity building webinar. It's a real pleasure to have such a diverse and committed group with us today from the project, early replicators, and hopefully newcomers. So today, as I mentioned, we are joined by three major categories, our own STEAM consortium partners, many of whom have been directly involved in shaping the platform from the ground up. Earlier replicators who responded to our open call and are now here to explore how they can apply the RethinkAction tool and its associated tools in their own local context. And also newcomers who are just discovering the project and exploring how it can support their climate and land use planning work. So we have participants joining from Europe and beyond, which is incredibly exciting for us and perfectly in line with the RethinkAction's vision of enabling the replication and uptake of land use-based climate solutions far beyond our existing 6 original case studies. To make this journey as accessible and engaging as possible, we have structured this webinar series to be step-by-step, starting from foundational concepts and gradually moving towards more hands-on exploration and practical application of the platform. By keeping the sessions close together, we aim to build the momentum and support you in getting the most out of the platform. Today is our first session, and the session will cover a lot of the ground. We'll begin with Sarah from Cardiff, who will introduce the RethinkAction project and our broader replication activities. Sarah will also walk us through the platform itself, structure, tools, and capabilities, following by Roy from FCID, who will present the RethinkAction and replication process and risk assessment methodology, helping us understand how local realities are integrated into the platform. Then we'll dive a little bit deeper into how global and local data inform risk managing, with insights from our sweet colleagues Ifigenia Karamatoglu from National Observatory of Athens, Jesus Ortuna Castillo from GMV, and Giussi Fedele from CMCC. And finally, we'll walk through some real-world case studies and open the floor for discussion and interaction. So please feel free to share your comments and question and reflection throughout the process. And once again, thank you for being here. We hope you have this session that, you keep it close to your heart and at the end, leave it with a clear understanding of the RethinkAction platform and how you can use it, test it, and shape it to meet your own local and regional needs. Thank you again, and let's get started. Back to yourself, Celine.
Thank you, Purya. Purya already gave us an introduction and an overview of the agenda. If you can go please to the agenda of the session with the slides, so we all have an overview of what we are talking about. I'm not going to say more words about that. I guess it's pretty clear. Just few words about housekeeping now. Please, next slide. Few standard rules as you all are used to now, I guess. Please, when you're not speaking, mute your mic, but I guess you will not have the possibility anyway to turn it on. Still, we would like to hear from you, of course. So if you want to have to do a comment, you have a question, you can use the chat function for that. And you will also be then engaged even more through Slido into the Q&A sessions and survey sessions session. So please feel free to be open, engage as much as possible, as much as this means, virtual mean allows us. We are happy to hear from you. We'll hear for you. So without further ado, maybe we can go on and start actually diving into the platform itself. So for now, I would like to give the floor to Sara Barilari. Please, next slide. She will be introducing us to the RethinkAction platform, the vision behind it, the outputs, and a little bit the presentation of the different structures of the platform. I don't know if there is any problem. Yes, with the slides. Next one, please. So everybody also have a clear view of who Sara is before she turns on her camera. Thank you. She's from Fondation Cartif, which is the coordinator of the RethinkAction project. So please, Sara, over to you.
Thank you, Selene, for this presentation. Well, good morning, everyone. As Selene said, I work at Fundación Cartif, and we are the coordinator of the project and also the developer of the platform that I'm going to briefly explain today. So at first, I'd like to start with like a general presentation, introduction of the project, just so we have an idea. So in the next slide, you can see some key data. So, RethinkAction, it's an Horizon Europe project, and it started in 2021 and it's ending in September, so in a few months. And it involves 13 partners from different countries with different backgrounds. And in this project, we are focusing on 6 case studies, which are Gotland from Sweden, Tarn-et-Garonne in France, Southern Great Plain in Hungary, Valle d'Aosta in Italy, Almeria province in Spain, and Azores in Portugal. So in the next slide, we will be able to see a brief phrase regarding the main objective of the project. So the objective of the project is the development of a cross-sectoral, user-friendly and decision-making platform that is tailored for different type of users, like citizens, policymakers, and experts. And the aim of the platform is to provide relevant and accessible climate informations to raise awareness on climate change, but also to promote land use-based adaptation and mitigation solutions. And you're going to see almost everywhere the acronym LAMPS that means that. So it's referred to these solutions. And we think that these land-based solutions, which are both considering land changes and management, are quite relevant to achieve climate goals, but also the sustainable development goals. And in the next slide, I also did like a brief recap of our replication activities and strategies, since this webinar is part of this. So one of the activity was the call for early replicators, and some of you probably are aware of this. Then we have like activities and functionality of the platform that regards that involves the replications, and in the next webinars we are going to delve more in depth into this part. And then we have these webinars, which are a series of 3, and we are right now at the first one. And then also in September, we're going to release a massive open online course, MOOC, that include explanatory videos and questionnaires so that people can see and replicate our methodology. So in the next slide, I'm going to start talking about the platform. So in the next webinars, my colleagues are going to explain it more in depth. Now it's just a general overview. So next, we are going to see another time. Sorry, I have several animations in here. we have, so at first, in the platform, as I said before, we said that this is tailored for different users, citizen, policymaker, and experts, and they have different access to the details of the results that we included in the platform in order to make it more useful and understandable for them. Then in the next screenshot of the platform, we can see the 3 different paths. I don't know why I cannot see it. Next. Okay. So the 3 different paths are LAMS catalog, local analysis, and EU global analysis. And in the next slides, we are going to delve a little bit more in depth into this. So next. Another time, yes. So here we have the LAMS catalog, which is a list of solution, land-based adaptation and mitigation solutions at both local and global scale. And in this part, we have like several details on these solutions, the possibility of create packages of solutions, and also to highlight the solutions that have more impact on specific variables like greenhouse gases, or like also depending on the level of resources that are needed to implement this solution. Then in the next one, we are going to see the initial part of the local analysis. So at the beginning, the user can select one of the 6 case studies of our project. Then in the next part, once it's selected, it's possible to see the description of the case study to give a context. In the next part, then it's possible to see the essential climate variables, both in a map gridded way or as here in a time series way. And they are both historical and at future level with different type of scenarios. Then in the next slide, yes, we have a multi-sectoral risk assessment where it's possible to see maps of hazard, exposure, vulnerability, and risk for different sectors, different type of hazards that are specific for the case study, different scenarios and periods. And these are divided per municipalities or territorial boundaries inside the area. Then in the next one, it's the part of adaptation and mitigation capacity. We have maps of the different land use types, carbon stock maps, and also suitability maps that for specific LAMPs that the user can select, they show the level of suitability of specific areas. Then in the next slide, we are seeing, yes, the package of solution that I was mentioning before. So by answering to these questions and ranking priorities and criteria, the user will be able to create a package of solution that we can see in the next part, yes. So the one that you see in light blue are the one that were selected through our questionnaire that process them with an algorithm. And then the user can decide to keep them or delete them and include others from the catalog. Then in the next part, we start going towards the local model side. And our model is a system dynamic model. And it's important that the user decides which policies to include in the model. So at the beginning, we have this part where the user can select a policy. And then in the next screenshot, we can see that the user can select to activate or deactivate the policy, decide the intensity of application of the policy, initial and final year of implementation. And next, we can see the results coming from the selections. And we have a list of outputs that can be, and the one that we, like the scenarios that we created can be compared with the baseline. Next, we are now in the EU global analysis part. We have the essential climate variables again, but this time at a broader level. And then in the next slide, next part, because I didn't include the screenshot because this section is still under development. It's about the William model that, for people that maybe don't know, it's an integrated assessment model that can simulate EU global policies. But this is still under development. And then in the next part, I put the link of the platform, and I mean, in case someone is curious and wants to check it, it's there. And well, I finished my presentation.
Thank you so much, Sara. Thank you for this walkthrough, this overview of the project, of the platform. So now that we know that this platform can be entered through as 3 different roles, follow different paths, let's try now to start breaking down a little bit these pieces and setting a little bit the scene. For that, we have Bishwajit Roy. If we can have his yes card on screen. Thank you. He's a postdoc researcher at FCID, and I'm just leaving the floor to you, Roy, without further ado.
Thank you, Selene. So, you know me that I am Bishwajit Roy and I'm working as a postdoc researcher in FCID. So FCID is actually responsible for the work package 6, which is about the case study evaluation at the local level. And all the things that you have seen in the previous slides are actually starting from the case studies local evaluation. So, and I will take you through the next steps here. And one thing need to mention that here I have my colleague from FCID, Ricardo, is here. Ricardo, if you just can raise the hand, then people can understand. Okay, thank you, Ricardo. So can we move to the next slide, please? So this is an overall outline of my presentation. First of all, I will take you through that how this process has started and what has been done. And finally, in the section B, case study snapshot, I will give you an example of 2 of the case studies from the RethinkAction project. Next slide, please. So first of all, setting the scene. What is it about? So we are actually talking about climate change and it's impacting our local level. So, and for this, we need to prepare ourselves. And this starts with the risk assessment process. So for the risk assessment process, first of all, what is needed? We need to identify the objectives of the risk assessment. It depends on like what do we want to study and what and how it has impacted, the climate has impacted our topic of interest. This can be our specific territory, or it can be a specific sector, or it can be any other case related to the climate change impact. Next slide, please. When this topic of interest and our objectives are defined, then we start the process. Like what do we want to study within this risk assessment process? This actually leads us. Can you move to the next slide, please? To this diagram of the climate change propeller, risk propeller. We are all familiar with this from the IPCC report. So our socio-ecological system is actually impacted by different factors like climate and the anthropogenic factors, which actually impacts on the socio-economic process. So risk assessment process is actually a combination of 3 main components, which is hazard, then the sector, the exposure, and then vulnerability. All of these actually lead us to assess the risk of a specific sector or territory or a point of interest. Okay. Can we move to the next slide? So after this objective defined, point of interest is discussed, and the scope has been also been defined, then next step is to reach our target groups. So who do we want to be involved in this replication process? It can be the local authorities, it can be the local people working in the area being affected by the climate change, it can be the experts from this field, and so on. So once we have identified our specific target groups, we set a first meeting with them and discuss with them about all the things that we have identified before, the objectives, the point of interest, the scope, and so on. All these things actually lead us to define the problem statement with respect to the climate change impact. So next slide, please. So in this slide, this risk assessment process actually involves in a lot of data and so on. So for this process,
sorry to interrupting you, Roy. We are not seeing your next slide. I guess the second half of your presentation is coming also a bit after. We are now seeing Jesus' profile.
Okay. So I was going to say that Jose will going to show now the climate data and so on. Yeah. Jose, so it's up to you now. Thank you.
Thank you. So just a brief reminder that also Lian has shared in the chat the link to the platform. So if you want go and start exploring the platform around, you can also do so. So you're also more aware of what's going on. As Roy said, Jesus will now guide us through the demonstration of how this climate risk can inform land use planning decisions. So Jesus, over to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Roy, for your introduction, and Celine for the presentation. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining the webinar. My name, as already said, is Jesus Ortuño. I'm a geographer and a project manager at GMB. Yes, I'm delighted today to share with you some of the exciting work we've been performing for the RethinkAction project. Specifically, we'll be focusing on the role in developing the high-resolution land use maps for the 6 very different European regions that are our case study. So let's go to the next slide and check why land use mapping matters. But before that, let's begin with taking a step back, because we need to understand that land is the stage where all the human and natural processes interact. The way we use land, whether it's for cities, crops, forests, energy, has a direct influence on the greenhouse emissions, the biodiversity loss, food security, vulnerability to the climate extremes. And that makes the land use both the driver and also the climate change, the driver of climate change, and also key part of the adaptation solution. So by mapping land use, we are able to and also to see how it evolves, and we gain crucial insight into the trends, the pressures, and also the opportunities. Therefore, this understanding is essential to designing policies and to especially to identify where the action will have the greatest impact, which is one of the goals of the project. If we go to the next slide, we will be focusing in the forthcoming slide the actual work that was performed. So has been already explained, in the RethinkAction project, the mission is to build this digital decision support platform that you have the link on the chat, and this is one of the branches, or one of the pieces of that. So we are focusing in, as I think Sarah already mentioned, the 6 selected case studies. So we'll see that they represent a distinct climate, ecological, and socio-economical context, from the boreal landscape in Sweden woodland to the arid lands of Almeria in Spain, mountains and rural complex around the Valle de Aosta or Taller Garon and if we go to the next slide, sorry. Yes. Okay. Well, within the project, one of the aims was to create the high resolution map by using Sentinel-2 data. And we comment a bit the special case in the Azores where we had to use as well data from Landsat, which is if Sentinel-2 is the constellation that comes from Copernicus, that is owned for the European Commission, and Landsat we lean some of that for having cloudy prone areas like the Azores. So we need to lean as well. We had to lean in the Landsat gave us more frequency, and we will be able to proceed with our algorithm and get better results. You see here in the screen that we separate two levels of information into one. Level 1 includes 12 broad land use categories, and the level 2 expands to 21 categories. You'll see here clearly that is disaggregating some of the categories like the urban or waterland into finer subtype. If we go to the next slide, we'll see that in an actual map. Please, if we go to the next slide. You see here it doesn't make much of a change. If we will have the map full screen and you can see in detail, you'll see in some areas of the urban areas is slightly a bit different. If we go to the next slide, so it will depend of the different maps that we are analyzing. You see here now is more visually striking than the one before. And now we'll go to the next slide and explain a bit on the methodology very quick, as we don't have much of a time. But you'll see here the methodology on how we build this map. The idea here is to perform a methodology robust. It's designed to be robust, scalable. I mentioned already that we lean on imageries of Sentinel-2, and in the region of Azores, we supplemented with Landsat 8. We use a technique that is called geographical object-based image analysis, or in short, GeoVia or GeoVia, which groups pixels into meaningful segments rather than classifying them one by one. And that combined with a machine learning classifier like random forest model, and a suite of spectral indices like NDVI for the vegetation, and then the WI for the water, to enhance the class classification or discrimination, better to say. We also brought in auxiliary data sets, including the forest management layers, urban mask, and OpenStreetMap feature to improve the classification, and leaning also in already published data that we have. By the way, we are accepted last week. We were accepted for a paper on where we explain the whole thing in deep. So when it's published, we'll make it that public through the website, and for all the people with interest will be able to assess this or to check it. If we go to the next slide, we will comment a bit short and brief that we are really pleased to say to ensure that the reliability of our maps are quite standing. We are pleased to say that our maps achieve an overall accuracy of 85%, with some of them exceeding the 90%. So what that means is that gives the users or the people that want to use, or the researchers, policymakers, and they want to use these maps or further what is being built up on top of the layers of this, give the confidence that the maps are fit to plan, especially in the previous stages for modeling and also monitoring. So let's go to my final slide, and I will comment briefly and pass the word to my colleagues. If we go, well, here what we see in short, in brief, I can tell you what the maps show so far. So what are they revealing? So You see, each case study is different. Each case study tells a different story. In Almeria, in Spain, we observed the rapid growth of greenhouse agriculture, and that was one of the things that we for certainly knew for a long time. But as you know, is the only human construction that you can see from space. All the greenhouse in Almeria, all the white the plastic sea. And also what we were able to determine is the spread of the solar energy infrastructure in the past years. So also in the grid planning in Hungary, our maps highlighted the shift toward more irrigated cropland, and as the climate pressure increases in Gotland, we capture dynamic transitions between managed forest and natural grassland. These special insights are broad, and we have many of this information on. By the way, you'll see the maps are already accessible through the platform, and also you have them on the RethinkAction project. But what I want to wrap up and close is with this idea. These special insights are crucial for understanding the pressures, like urban expansion, the land abandonment, the changing forest practices, but they also help identify the opportunities of the conservation, restoration, and climate adaptation strategies that we can actually perform. No? So providing reliable, special, explicit data and analysis tool, the one that we are providing in the RethinkAction, we are helping stakeholders to move forward from the abstract goals to grounded strategic, even pixel-based strategies to support decisions that take place and well, at the end is to be more equitable. So from my side, that's all what I want to present today. Thank you, Selene. Back to you.
Thank you, Jesus, and thank you for also leaving us with such important message. Not losing any further time, I would like to introduce you Ifigenia Kiramitsoglu. She's the research director in Earth observation at the National Observatory of Athens, and she will guide us through the global data sets that are in the platform and how they can inform the local action. Ifigenia, over to you.
Thank you very much, Selene, and I would like to now follow taking the participants to zoom out a little bit from the case study area to the European and the global level. So next slide, please. So in the platform, we have a variety of different variables at basically at a global scale. Here you will see them cropped to the European level. The data comes from Copernicus Climate Change Service. It is called C3S, and it provides information about the past, the present, and the future climate. It is very important that we have collected all this information that we call the essential climate variables. This is the ECV. We have collected 8 ECVs, and these are shown in the maps that you see on the screen. Top left is the near surface Earth temperature for the historical period of 1985 to 2014. The second one is the precipitation for the same period. The third one is the near surface wind speed, and the fourth is the surface downwelling shortwave radiation. But these are the variables, but we also have the indicators, the ECV indicators. For the indicators, you need to take the processing one step further so that what you show is actually a little bit more relevant to the reality of a region. So for the indicators, we select, for example, the number of hot days, the number of hot nights, the maximum heat wave duration, and other indicators that are useful to understand what are the stresses in an area. For this, we have used the ensemble of 8 CMIP6 models. The way to see it on the platform is that you select EU Global Analysis, and then you select the variable, either the ECV or the ECV indicator of your interest. For this, we have also taken into consideration the so-called future scenarios. And for future scenarios, you will probably notice that many times for the climate scenarios, you see the acronym SSP. This stands for the Shared Socioeconomic Pathways. And really what it is like a what-if scenario to explore how society, economy, the population might evolve in the future and therefore affect climate and resilience. So when we talk about SSP 2.6, we're talking about the sustainability scenario. So it is a sustainable world with strong climate action, low emissions. Then you have the 4.5 that is somewhere in the middle, and the 8.5 that is a fossil fuel, high growth world with very high emissions and severe climate impacts. So these are the different scenarios that you can explore. And also, apart from maps, you can see time series, as you see in the last, the one at the bottom, the panel at the bottom. Next slide, please. The other way that you can explore these data sets is that you can have a certain time period. So for the top row, you see that we have selected the present and near future period, 2015 to 2040, and we have selected different scenarios. So you have the historical period, and then you have the different scenarios, like the ones, the SSPs that I mentioned before. So you keep the period constant, and you change the scenario. And of course, you select one variable out of the ones, the ECVs, variables and indicators that I mentioned previously. And in the second row of plots of maps, what you do is that you can actually keep the scenario constant and play with the different time frames. So on the left, you see the one in the past, then you see the one in that is present near future, and then you see in the immediate future, let's call it like this, up to 270, and the long-term future that is up to 2100. So the first row, we keep the period and we play with the scenario. In the second row, we keep the scenario, but we play with the period. And of course, for all these variables, you see, and with this I conclude that there is a wealth of information, of data sets for the whole European territory, and you are very welcome to explore the different data sets. Back to you, Celine. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Iphigenia. And thank you so much also for explaining in simple words, breaking down concepts and acronyms that usually we are so used to them, but it's nice to have such a clear overview and explanation of what they are and what they mean. Thank you so much again. So now I would like to pass the floor to Giusy Fedele. She's a junior scientist at CMCC Foundation, and she will guide us through the local datasets this time. So Giusy, over to you.
Hi, Celine. Thanks a lot for introducing me. So hi, everybody. It's nice to be here with you. So please, Celine, next slide. So as Celine was mentioning before, today I'm here to discuss with you, explain to you how we moved from global data, Iphigenia showed you before, to local scale. There are several methods to do that to achieve this goal, and we decided to use a data-driven methodology based on the bias correction techniques. So starting from this work, have a look to this workflow. I will discuss about it in brief with more simply. So so as you can see, two main data sets we start from are those indicated in green. So we have the CMIP6 global climate data at global scale with the equilibrium climate variable Evgenia showed you before, and also a reference data, which is the SERRA dataset, which is area analysis at European scale, which provides essential climate variables over the territory, including all the pilot sites we are interested to. And we move so from the global climate projection to at very low resolution down to 5.5 kilometer resolution of SERRA dataset with several steps. So first of all, we have a preprocessing step, including temporal and spatial preprocessing. Then moving forward, we apply the bias correction methodology to the preprocessed variable for this ensemble that Evgenia already showed you before is made of CMIP6 model for 3 different scenarios. And so we get all the relations derived on the training period through the empirical quantile mapping bias correction methods, and then we apply those relations to the entire period we are interested to. And finally, we get all this information at very local scale. Here in the bottom right panel, you can see so how we move from the general circulation model data. Here, for instance, the 2-meter variabilities. If you zoom in on Italy, for instance, as you can see, there is not much detail, for instance, related also to orography. But if we apply this methodology, all these features appear. So since we are also interested to better understand climate also at very local scale, so this methodology is very useful. So please, next slide. Okay, thank you. So as I was mentioning before, so those data at very high resolution have been obtained for 8 CMIP6 models so that have been downscaled at fine scale, so about 5 kilometers for all the case study except other where we reach down to 1 kilometer resolution. Specifically, so starting from these high resolution downscaled variables, 5 variables, we achieved 34 derived indicators that are the same Evgenia showed you before. But here we have very local features related. So the 3 future scenarios are those already discussed in previous slides. So the scenario pathway 1 to 6, the second one for middle of the road, the 2.4.5, and then 8.5. All those data are interactive. So going to the platform, you can both visualize absolute values of these indicators, but also changes over the pilot areas. Moreover, you can also visualize time series, selecting the time frame you are interested to, and you can for the maps you can navigate over the platform and also download the data you are interested to through that are available on the Zenodo platform, always accessible from the main rating platform, and those data can be downloaded in TIFF format. So for all the possible application that can be done. So thanks a lot. I have give let's say an overview of what has been done. I hope I explain it in the best way possible. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Josie. It was really interesting to also to see the level of details in terms of resolution that we have for our platform. I am now going to give back the floor to Bishwajit. Just small note to be mindful of time. We are 10 minutes late, so Bishwajit, if we can condense a little bit, so we also have enough time for interaction with the session. Yeah, now we will see finally for this round of presentation, the risk assessment methodology more in detail, and then the snapshot of the case study. So Roy, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Selene. We already have got some warning that we are already a bit short. So let's go to the next slide, please. So all the things that you have seen before, from the three partners of these projects, those that are very important for this next phases. So this will be help for the risk assessment process. Can you go to the next one, please? So once this data has already been defined and you have reached it, then reach out to your first target groups, the people who attended in the first meeting, set a second meeting with them to start the process of the risk assessment. The risk assessment process is actually carried out by following a Bible, which is developed by the GIZ, and it's called a Climate Risk Assessment Guidebook. This guidebook actually gives a proper guideline how to develop the impact chain. So what is impact chain basically? It's a tool that actually covers a lot of complex things into a simpler way, where you actually define the hazards, then impacts, the vulnerability, the exposure, and finally, based on this, you quantify the risk of the sector of or of your point of interest. Apart from this, GIZ Climate Guidebook, in the RethinkAction project, we have developed a manual which is in the deliverable 6.2. Can we move to the next one, please? So this is the deliverable I was talking about. Deliverable 6.2 has an annex report regarding this. So next slide. So this is overall like the replication for how the climate has impact in our system, in our socio-ecological system. Now let's break it down. First of all, we have identified the data. Next slide, please. So you can move. So for example, you have a point of interest, an area which has been impacted by a flood, and it has been impacting the crop existing in the area. What has caused this flood? Next, please. So maybe there is too much precipitation causing the flood. This flood, the exposed sector is the crop setting in that area and the people who are actually doing the farming. Next slide, please. So this is in this case, it's a crop field. And because of this exposure, the people are suffering, or the crop setting is suffering. What is this? It comes to the vulnerability side. Next one, please. So the crops which is in that area are actually suffering due to this flood. And next slide. So due to not having proper adaptive capacity to protect the crop, we are experiencing a risk. Next one. We are experiencing a risk of crop damage due to flood. So all this process that, first of all, your point of interest, which is when impacted by a flood and it's caused by the precipitation, too much precipitation, the people living in that area or the crop field is under exposed, and they need a protection. But due to not having a proper capacity to deal with this problem, all this leads to a loss of crop damage by flood. Next slide. I will skip this slide very fast. That the thing that has already been explained. It's the screenshot from the guidebook. So on the top left corner, you see the hazards. In the middle is the intermediate impacts. On the left side is the vulnerability. On the bottom left corner is the exposure. So first of all, you identify the hazard, the too much precipitation, and how it has been impacting exhibited in the intermediate impacts. And what has been impacted is the exposed, for example, people living in the flood-prone area or the property, and how they are actually suffering. It's in a different socio-ecological context. For example, it can be the socioeconomic sensitivity, it can be the ecological sensitivity. The box that has red border, for example, lack of water and wetland management capacity, this is actually a capacity actually influencing or intensifying the problem. When all these things are accumulated, that leads to a risk, which is risk of crop damage, risk of damage of property and loss of lives due to flooding. Next slide, please. You can also quantify the risk. And for this quantification, we need indicators. Like Ifigenia was showing in her presentation, that ECB then going to in very details. This is also the same. In this case, for each of the component, which is hazard, exposure, vulnerability, then for these three parts, you can quantify each of the variable inside of each this component. I will explain this more in detail in the case study snapshot. We can move to the next slide. So this is an overall of the replication process, but there are some challenges during this process. So what are the main challenges in this? So next slide, please. So first problem is the getting appropriate data for the risk quantification, because it's not just you define the risk, we need to quantify the risk, to what extent our system will be impacted. That is one problem, having appropriate data. Then another one is the stakeholder fatigue, because this is a long process, and within this process there is a lot of complex tasks, and sometimes when the results are made, they don't fulfill the expectation of the participants. Next slide, please. So how can we overcome this? First of all, we have found this strategy very effective, that first of all, divide the task with the stakeholders and ask for their feedback for the next stage. For example, for the first meeting, you discuss the problem statement. Then for the second meeting, you also discuss about like what are the problems you can discuss, or you can refurbish the problem. If you are struggling with the data for the quantification, ask help from them, because this helps a lot. Second thing is when the stakeholder meeting is happening, it's give them some room to speak and discuss with them openly. It's like in the meeting we act as a moderator and they speak and we just took a notes all the times. That's very effective for the next process. Make them part of the solution, share with them the results all the time. Because after each of the phase, share the result with them and take their feedback from them. The next slide, please. From all these things, we have learned that impact chain is a very strong tool. It actually grows interest among the stakeholders because it simplifies the complex things into a more simple shape. Then one thing must need to be taken care of is the good logistic. And finally is the making them like a ownership, giving them the ownership, or also how can I say this? It's like a empowerment of the stakeholders actually help in this process. So that's from the part of the replication process workthrough. I will now move to the case study snapshot. So can we move to the next slide, please? So, no, sorry, before that, you can move on to the next slide. So it's of the whole process in a nutshell. First of all, in the first meeting, we define the problem statement. In the second meeting, next slide, we develop the first impact chain. Next slide. In the third meeting, what has been developed in the first meeting, we approve it and make a final impact chain and start discussing with the stakeholders for identification of the quantity for the indicators. Ask their support if it is needed. In the fourth meeting, we share the result from the quantification and approve it and start them identifying adaptation and mitigation solution. In the RethinkAction process, we considered name it as a package of solution. So, and in the fifth meeting, the next one, please, we share the package of solution with respect to the risk and the problems, and all these things actually define more. Like in this package of solution, Sarah has shown you how has it been done. We will know more about it in webinar 3. So stay tuned for the webinar 3. And after from the first meeting also, we start developing the policy insights, like what policy measures can help to solve the problem, or what policy action is necessary from the state or the administrative level. Once all of this is done, we start developing a policy statement. This policy statement helps to define a policy brief for your point region of interest. So that's now is the case study snapshot. Sarah has already explained about the RethinkAction project. It's a land-based adaptation mitigation solution to climate change impact, represented by case studies, 6 case studies, and the whole process has been carried out through a co-creation approach. Next slide, please. So this is overall the 6 case studies area snapshot. You have more or less idea from the last slide, but the 2 things that I want to emphasize here is the economy and challenges. As you can see from this slide, most of the case studies economy are dependent on the agriculture, energy, and tourism. So this is very common. And similarly, the challenges that they are facing with the current climate situation are related with the drought or water scarcity. To some extent, it's also related with the biodiversity loss also. For instance, for the Valle de Agosta. Next slide, please. So now I will start giving you the overview of the impact chain that has been carried out in case studies. So this is case study of Azores, case study 6. We are actually leading the case study 6. This is actually the Azores is an archipelago. Next slide, please. Next slide. It's an archipelago. It's composed of 9 islands, and the climate is very favorable for the current condition. But according to the stakeholders' opinion, with the future climate change, the problem will intensify. And what are the problem is that the current economic activities cannot be balanced with the preservation of ecosystem services. Furthermore, since it is very detached from the mainland of Portugal, as you can see from this figure, from this figure on the top right corner, they are very dispersed from the mainland. So ensuring the continuation of energy transition is will be a big problem for the Azores in the future. And if the current climate change keeps going on like this, the future irrigation demand will intensify, and the Azores will lose the attractiveness from the tourism. So this is a energy impact chain for Azores. There are 3 sectors I mean studied for Azores. One is energy. So now I will give you a more in detail. So from Azores, the main risk for the energy sector is the risk of climate change affecting energy production and demand. on the bottom of this figure. I don't know if you can see my cursor. And what has been causing this? First of all, in the top right corner, we can see the hazard. I will not go for all the hazards, but just giving an example of higher temperature. Due to the higher temperature, in the intermediate impact, the geothermal plants are losing the efficiency because of requiring more cooling power needed. All these problem actually leading to the impact of less energy output available for the people living in that area. And so who is actually exposed is the energy system, the thermal fossil power plants, and also the people living in the Azores, especially the people who are sensitive to heat. These problems, actually, the people who are living in Azores are actually suffering with the problem of thermal discomfort because of these temperature changes and all these things. And also about the tropical nights, the people are suffering a lot, and it's exhibiting in the vulnerability side in terms of like lack of, due to not having proper incentives for good housing condition, the problem is been increasing to a greater extent. There are more other problems, other factors related to the vulnerability. For example, lack of demand side management, then lack of energy storage facilities. All these are leading actually to not leading, actually intensifying the risk of climate change affecting energy production and demand. Next slide, please. In this slide, I have told you before the different we need to quantify this component by specific indicator. For example, for the case of hazard, we have considered total average temperature and wind speed. But similarly for the exposure sector, the percentage of fuel necessary for running these power plants and so on. So all of these actually different, not all sorry, not for all of them the indicators were defined, but for most of them, for some of them the indicators have been defined. So once you have identified the indicators, it's possible to quantify the risk. Now, how to deal with this problem? As we said before in the meeting 4, we can associate different adaptation solution with respect to these problems. For example, next slide, please. I'm just going to highlight some factors from them. For example, one is the low house thermal comfort and efficiency, which is caused which is actually influencing the thermal discomfort of the people living in that area. So in that regard, what kind of solution can be implemented is that establishment of maintenance of more green urban space. So if there is more green urban space, the thermal discomfort will be managed. Then next one is lack of incentives for self-use. For example, the people have their own energy sources. They foster their energy consumption. They prepare the process, and it depends on them if they want to include it with the national grid. Then another one is the solar panel in rooftop buildings. This is actually self-use. The people install in their facilities and take the benefit of the facilities. Then next one, next slide. So other problem is the non-dispatchable renewable energy sources, because since most of the things, geothermal plants and everything is depending on the factors, and some of them are not totally dispatchable. So in that regard, more dispatchable solution like renewable energy from biogas or agricultural residue can resolve this problem. So this is all from the case study of Azores. Now, can we move to the next slide? Next slide, please. So this is a case study of Almeria, located in the southern part of Spain. Next slide. The main problem statement of Almeria is the over-dependency on the agricultural sector and intense, which actually exhibiting in terms of freshwater scarcity. And based on the stakeholder input, the risk of future social and economic instability will increase. So now, yeah, can move. Can I? So for the impact chain of Almeria, the main concern is one of the main concern is the risk of the reduced health of the migrants people, because as you've seen in the last slide, the main economy of this area is the agricultural dependent, and a lot of people actually living people mean the migrant people are actually working there. But due to these climatic changes, for example, for the higher temperature, the migrants people are having a problem with their health. And so the exposed people are the immigrants in the, as you can see from the exposure part on the bottom corner. And how they have been vulnerable is that there is not proper management facilities to deal with this intense climate. And also there is also not enough support provided to this for these migrant people. So all of these factors actually come intensifying the problem of the labor migrants' health condition. So that's all from my side. Back to Celine.
Thank you, Roy. Okay, with this presentation, actually, we finalized the overview of what has been done in the project, what is this platform, the different pieces of it, and the huge amount of work, data and information that has been collected to build it. So thank you very much to all of our speakers. And I would leave the floor now to my colleague Lian. She will guide you through the Q&A session. Lian, over to you.
Thank you very much, Celine, and thank you to all our speakers today and all the attendees. I haven't noted any question in the Q&A so far, but right now is the moment for anyone in the room who might want to ask a question or take the floor. So I'm just going to give you 1 or 2 minutes to do so. As soon as you put the next slide. And if you don't have any question, pressing one that you would want to ask right now, we will then go to the survey. The survey will help us capture a bit more about who is in the room with us, learn a bit more about your specific context, and this will help us tailor a bit more the content of the second webinar. Will be more about going through the platform, learning how to use it, and the third one, take the learnings from this entire webinar series and try to use it in your own context. So I don't see any hand raised, or maybe if you want to drop a question in the Q&A or the chat. This applies as well to our colleagues who were involved in the project who might want to raise questions or maybe ask us to cover more deeply other certain topics in the next webinars. Well, I don't see any, so I will go. Oh, I see something. Sarah, I think you can unmute yourself. Yes.
Add like a little promotion part is because well, in the presentation we saw the part of the impact chains for the risk assessment, but for the quantification we just published a paper. So, well, if you are interested, you can check it in the RethinkAction website. It's still not out, but it's going to be out soon. Or, well, I can paste in the chat the
That'd
link.
Be great. That'd be great.
Just this.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Maya. Let's move to the survey part. So I hope all of you have a phone nearby and are well versed in the art of Trello. It's pretty straightforward. You use your camera and you scan the QR code and this should lead you to a platform. And when we'll be sharing the next slides, you should have a question appearing on your phone, and you'll be invited to answer. So let's try it together, Sumaya. Let's go to the next slide and hope that we don't have any technical issues. So does anything appear on your screen? Maybe not. Let's try. If someone online can confirm or not if the Slido is working, that'll be great.
No, it doesn't seem to be active at the moment.
Okay, what about now?
Now.
Yes.
Yes, that's great. So the first question would be, what is the most pressing land use or climate challenge that your region is facing? And based on your experience and the content presented today, this is an open question. So if you want to just drop one word, a sentence, the link maybe, yes, let's see if I can send you the link. Let's see if I can send you the link. Okay, I think we should be seeing. Do you see something on the screen? Because I cannot see the screen.
Yes, we see the words floating.
Okay, perfect, perfect. I'm going to try to send you the link in the Teams as well.
I have put the link there already.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. I think it's Ricardo's voice, if I'm not wrong. So thank you very much. Okay, so we're seeing biodiversity loss, water scarcity, high temperature nights, floods, which echoes a lot on what we've seen today, and I think would be really relevant to focus on in the next session. Maybe we can move to the next slide, Sumaya. And now I should have a new question on the screen. On the sectors that are covered by the solutions, the LAMS catalog that we've briefly covered, but we will be detailing a bit more in the last session, which in your context, in your region, would present the greatest potential for replication in your region. So agriculture, energy, agriculture seems to take the lead in this one. Shall we move to the next question, Sumaya? Now we have a ranking question, more focusing on the barriers to replication as such, to know a bit more about your context and what would be the biggest, the most the biggest barriers in using the learnings from this entire exercise and from the platform, and try to replicate it to your context. What would, in your own opinion, be the most challenging? So stakeholder and community resistance seems to be taking the lead for now. Oh, funding, yes. Yes, I assume that we will come back to funding pretty quickly. So yeah, funding, political barriers, technical capacity gaps, and then stakeholder community resistance are taking the lead. I see that, and data availability is coming back up. I was asked to wait a bit. I'm rushing through the questions so that everybody can participate. So don't worry. This result will be either presented or used in the next webinars. But this is for us to get a better understanding of who's in the room and what are your main stakes and objective out of participating or joining as an early replicator. Sumaya, I hope I waited long enough. I think we have. I guess I'm moving anymore, so I'm going to jump to the next question, if you don't mind. Oh, it's moving a bit now. Okay, my bad. Okay, now we're going to move to the next question. So, based on the replication process introduced today, how ready do you feel as of today? How ready do you feel to replicate in your region in terms of the current context, the political context, the economical context, the stakeholders that would be involved, that could be involved, from academia to private sector? How ready do you feel to embark on a replication journey as of today? Well, some people are okay. Score number 3. Okay, we're not there yet, but halfway there, I would say. This is a really interesting split. But yeah, I would say that this is a alpha there. And I guess the point of the conversation we'll have in the next couple of webinars will understand what is stopping us from going all the way. What are the main barriers and how to tackle them one after the other. I think we're missing one participant. Or yes, and 9. Okay. Very good to know. I think we have another one. I think that will be the last one. I believe that would be the last question. From today's webinar, what do you think that in your work, what are the findings that would be the most valuable in your line of work? Whether it would be the solutions that are developed within the tool, or the platform in itself and the tool and how you can use it in your daily work. Or would it be more of a case study for you to be able to make a case in your regions for solutions to be implemented? So yeah, what would be the most valuable in your everyday work to leverage from this exercise and from RethinkAction project as a whole? And I see that the case studies are taking the lead, which makes a lot of sense. Be able to understand what is being done in similar contexts, and then I'm guessing we have different type of people and industry in the room, but I'm guessing that for urban planner or policymaker, it's a way for you to be able to make a case and show how solutions are implemented in similar contexts and how this can be done and this can be maintained throughout the years. So I'm gonna wait a bit more for the last participants to give their feedback. But I think it's not moving anymore. Yep. Oh, there's another one. There's another question. There is another question. I don't know if this one is the last one, but I'm not going to bet on it yet. So again, this is a ranking exercise for you to tell me within those categories, which are the categories where you could see potential for collaboration with RethinkAction partners or other participants. What are the elements where you could see taking a step further, taking from this presentation, taking from the project, and see where you can find synergies. And I see capacity building being the lead for now, but other option would be to contact pilot projects and learn a bit more about their experience, or understanding a bit more about the funding and the resource mobilization that was in play in RethinkAction, or see how with the RethinkAction project and partners and case studies you could push for some type of policy advocacy on certain topic, just taking from the learnings and some elements that were shared today by the technical partners. But for now, I see that leading would be capacity building and training, and knowledge exchange from the pilots of the project. So this is more focusing on how to learn from others, find synergies, and try to replicate and upscale the solution at a European and broadly global level. Leaving you a second to respond. but I think it is not moving anymore. So let's go to the next one. Oh, this is the end. Well, I guess this is the end on the survey part. So I will be giving the floor back to Selene. And thank you very much for your input, and we'll use it and try to shape the rest of the webinar series based on your feedback. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Leanne, for guiding us through the slide, and thank you for all the people that responded to the questions. If before we were late, now we are a little bit early. So maybe I just wanted to say, first of all, thanks again to everyone, the presenters, the attendees, very much appreciated. We hope that this first webinar for the RethinkAction integrated assessment platform could provide an overview of what this platform is, some hints about how you can use it in your context. And we actually are planning, as you know already, 2 more appointments, 2 more webinars for this. So the next one will be already next week, where we will have a deeper look at the platform itself. It will be more interactive. We will explore the platform with you, so you will actually start to understand how to come from what has been presented today, going from the LAMS catalog to the data at the local and global level, the risk assessment, and all these pieces and bits and pieces that have been mentioned today by our presenters and speakers. You will also be guided next week by additional and new partners of the project that have been involved in the development of this platform, and you will be more in the center of the next session, because you will also see how to go deeper into the case studies, but also how to match your reality to those case studies and how to leverage that information in your context. So we really hope that you will be there as well. Again, Thursday 17th from 10 to 11:30 Central European time. My apologies. And yes, I guess this is all for today. Thank you all very much again, and see you next week.